I found a new body!
Wait, a repulsor?
No, it can't be.
It's time for revenge!
She killed Mom. We gotta destroy her.
This is Ranger business, okay?
Let us sort this out. Rita's creating a time portal.
I'll kill you before Zor.
They're so old. I mean, this is so weird. They actually got the actor to come back, but they're so old. I mean, this is kind of crazy. Sovereign Searcher says we should get into the Teletubbies conspiracy. Oh, man. Or the Barney. Did you guys know about the Barney conspiracy? Are we really going to be doing Barney and Teletubby conspiracies? There's some dark stuff there. Oh, man. Oh, man, that's crazy. So, what are their ages here? Let's, because they actually don't look bad for their age, but they're still really old. So, okay. Let's see here. So David Yost, the Blue Ranger, so he's 55 now, so he would have been, what, around 52, 53 at the time of this? He's 50 plus years old playing the Blue Ranger. What the heck? Well, this came out, so Yost is 55 right now, and Once and Always came out last year, possibly shot the year before. So he would be 52 or 53. 53-ish. That's crazy. That's crazy. 50 plus years old doing fight scenes. Wait, why are you guys saying 45, 47? I mean, the wiki has him at 55. Birthday 1969. From Iowa. He starred in almost 200 episodes of the show's first 4 seasons. He's the only cast member to appear in every single episode of the original series. His character never changed his colors. So he also did Power Rangers Cosmic Fury. I don't know anything about that. There's way too many Power Ranger seasons. I mean, it's crazy. So now, Walter Emmanuel Jones is 53 now. So they both would have been... Oh, so he would have been 50, 51-ish. I mean, they look pretty good for guys in their 50s, don't they? That's not bad. Justin Johnson says the Elder Rangers. Sovereign Searcher says, so Bruce, how did we get into this Power Rangers thing? That's a good question. We were on Turkeys Attacking People, which we will get back to in a moment. Who remembers how we got to this? Who remembers how we got to this? Let me scroll back through the chat, because now I don't know. Tommy, okay, we're talking about how did we get to Power Rangers? Let's see. What are we talking about? Lord Zed. Oh, it was just the fact that Lord Zed's name is Lord Zed, I think. I think I mentioned how come we don't talk about Power Rangers, because we're just talking about shows from the 90s. I really don't remember exactly. But, well, Hunter vs. Hunted is how we got from Turkeys Attacking People to Vanishing Sun. And then we got Russell Long as in Vanishing Sun, so that's how we got to Black Sash. Then we had, yeah, then we got into the whole Ray J thing, because he's in Black Sash, which everybody forgot about, that he was in that. But I'm not sure how we got to Power Rangers. But let's finish this up and all this fair use going on here. Sovereign Searcher says, man, we're deep. Flat Bob. Welcome, welcome. We're looking at Power Rangers Mighty Morphin continuation all these decades later.
Order makes you Rangers.
We gotta make sure Rita doesn't hurt anybody else.
Attention, Power Rangers! Get to your assigned stations now!
Once a ranger,
Always a ranger.
They should have just called this the Geezer Rangers, but honestly, some of them don't look that bad for their age. The Geezer Rangers. Oh, man. I mean, this is crazy. I mean, this is really crazy. I literally watched this when it came out because I was in sheer disbelief, but I don't really remember too much about it.
It's morphin' time!
Your move, Rangers.
You want to fight? You found one.
You got this. Good luck. Now it's a reunion.
Messing with this place was a big mistake. Don't worry, you saved the world before.
Yeah, this is really hokey, and it almost looks like it was kind of like a fan video, like a fan YouTube video that they actually made into like a legit product, a legit project with a really high budget. Let's see what the budget was. Don't know if I can find it here. So apparently, well, also the Pink Ranger, Amy Jo Johnson, turned it down for some reason. And the original Red Ranger, Austin St. John, had some kind of indictment in an alleged scheme to defraud the Paycheck Protection Program. What? What? Man, we need to do a Power Rangers deep dive. What is going on? So he had a 2020 indictment on federal criminal charges related to the CARES Act. He conspired in a $3.5 million scheme to create businesses or use an existing business to submit applications to fraudulently obtain Paycheck Protection Program funding. Interesting. Wow, that's weird. He pled guilty as part of a plea agreement April 22nd, 2024. I mean, that's pretty crazy. Didn't know about the Red Ranger. Lord Zed says, because Amy knows they whacked Tommy, she's torn up. Have you actually listened to any of her interviews? I watched a few, what do they call them? Cons? Like Power Rangers cons? And yeah, she's such a normie. She's like a total normie. It's weird. It's weird. And a lot of them don't even like to do cons, but some of them do. And then she eventually did 1 or 2 Q&As and stuff. And she's such a normie, it's kind of disappointing. I mean, it's also kind of crazy. Like, all these guys, they look really hokey. Like, the bad guys here, they all look hokey. Like, the Power Ranger suits still look pretty cool and sleek. But, like, yeah, the putties look really hokey with their masks. I mean, that just looks hokey. And then, yeah, I mean, they all look pretty hokey. Look at all this fair use going on. Don't let Rita put a spell on your brain. I don't remember any of these lyrics. I mean, this is crazy. Yeah, it is a pretty good song, Lord Zed. I didn't think I would say this, but I'm actually legitimately impressed here. I totally forgot how legit this guy was. Let's look at that again. I mean, this is pretty legit, because most of the Power Rangers, I mean, they're not really that good at martial arts. Like, even the Red Ranger's not really that good. Like, let's look at his skills here. He's actually really good. What? I totally forgot how good he was. This is kind of crazy. Look at that crisp form there. I mean, that is crisp. And look at this. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 jumping split kicks in a row. That's kind of impressive. I think even Seagal would be impressed by that. Let's look at his form earlier here. I mean, this is crisp. I mean, look at that power. I mean, that's kind of impressive. I don't remember being impressed by anybody on this show, but that was the most impressive part there. And then all these split kicks. I mean, look at all this fair use going on here. He's even got the Steven Seagal ponytail tribute and everything. I mean, come on. Like, this is crazy. Maria says, is this the only thing he's been in? He doesn't look familiar. Yeah, he really Yeah, I don't know. He kind of got into MMA. Oh, do you guys know about the altercation with Van Damme? Oh, this is totally mind shock here. So Lord Zetsy, not only did he call out Van Damme, they actually had an altercation. Are you guys aware? Let me get the video. I didn't think we'd be going here tonight on Thanksgiving. We're going Jason David Frank for Jean-Claude Van Damme. Obviously, if it, if it was Seagal, Jason David Frank wouldn't open his mouth about him, but it's Van Damme, so it's a little dicey, because Jason David Frank actually is a legit MMA fighter. And he was, what, in his 40s? Van Damme... I wonder what their age is here during this altercation. Because Van Damme's not a crazy amount older than him, is he? Because the altercation... Alright, so they had some kind of altercation at Comic-Con. I'm going to put it on the screen in a second. Then we're gonna look at Viking Samurai's YouTube channel. He breaks down the beef. We'll examine that in typical Mind Shock fashion with logic and reason at the forefront. Man, this is a pretty wild Thanksgiving. I didn't think we'd be going to any of these. We went from Ray J to Green Power Ranger and Jean-Claude Van Damme beefing. I mean, this is interesting. I mean, this is, Lord Zed says David Frank would never disrespect Seagal, but Van Damme can get a bit lippy. Well, let's examine exactly what happened here. let's examine what happened. Love, peace, unity in the chat, as well as Wesley Slump. All right, let's get to this. Let's see what we can make of this here.
So cool. Yeah. I'm sorry you found out you were fighting.
Pull him out right now, please.
My hands glove. You want so cool. Yeah. I'm sorry you found out you were fighting.
Pull him out right now, please.
My hands glove. You want to fight.
He still wants to talk to him too.
That's right. I told you. That's right. Yeah, but that's not. Chuck Zito's a friend of mine. I heard. Yeah, you think? What about Chuck Zito? Chuck Zito? Yeah, tell him Chuck Zito what. Chuck Zito what? Don't try to punk me.
Jason, come on, let's go. Let's go.
Like many young aspiring martial artists, Jason David Frank idolized Jean-Claude Van Damme growing up. So what exactly the hell happened? How did this idolization morph into a celebrity feud? Celebrity beefs are entertaining to say the least. It's like having two popular kids in high school about to throw down. No doubt, everyone in that school wants to see that fight happen. So celebrity beef is pretty much the equivalent of that, but on a much, much larger scale. When you get a celebrity beef between two accomplished martial artists, both of whom actually have somewhat legitimate fight records, things become a lot more interesting. And so goes a feud between Jean-Claude Van Damme and Jason David Frank, better known as the Green Power Ranger. So first off, a little history. This feud dates all the way back to 1995 during the premiere of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers the movie.
I will never miss the premiere for a second.
Now there are conflicting reports of what happened. One, Van Damme never actually attended the premiere and Jason David Frank just felt slighted for it. Or two, when the two men did bump into each other at the premiere, Van Damme was less than enthused. So here are the reasons why Van Damme may have actually snubbed the Green Power Ranger. Number one, Jason David Frank is a young, talented, up-and-coming martial artist. The movie industry is very competitive, and a young Van Damme in the peak of his career probably doesn't take too kindly to someone else encroaching on his territory. Number two, Van Damme may not have been in the right mindset. He was dealing with substance abuse problems at the time, and this does alter a person's personality and the way they interact with other people. Also, this was prior to Van Damme being diagnosed with rapid cycling bipolar disorder, which he now takes medication for. And here's a reason why JCVD may not have snubbed the Green Power Ranger. The exchange was probably no big deal for Van Damme, and Jason David Frank unjustifiably just felt slighted.
The day Bison graced your village was the most important day of your life. But for me, it was Tuesday.
That's kind of hilarious. Wait, so Van Damme did not attend the Mighty Morphin Power Ranger premiere, or did they have something, they had some kind of altercation that was not filmed at the 1995 premiere? I mean, this beef is going back a long way. I actually didn't even know about that. The beef went all the way back to Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the movie premiere in 95. I mean, this is kind of crazy. Justin says this is like the Tyson Paul fight. I don't know about that. Lord Zed says, so he punked Van Damme, no mercy in this dojo. Well, it looks like Van Damme might have been the first to slight Jason David Frank in 1995. Maria says, whatever happened to Van Damme? Oh, we talk about him all the time. He's a legend. An absolute legend. Now would be a good time for this legendary clip of the greatest commercial of all time. I mean, this is when humanity was still at its peak.
Now, regardless of whether or not this was intentional snub or not, Maya Angelou is famously quoted as saying, "I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel." So tying back into how someone makes you feel, although it's often the result of what someone says or does to you, a lot of it comes down to your own interpretation of the event. So in this case, you have Jason David Frank, a young man, probably on top of the world with his success, finally getting to meet his idol, one of the men that helped motivate and push him to achieve what he has. And this man did not provide the sort of recognition that Jason David Frank was looking for. The Green Power Ranger actually said in an interview that he doesn't hold a grudge against Van Damme, only that he should have heeded the age-old advice of never meeting your idols. But regardless of what the Green Power Ranger has said, it certainly seems that he did hold a grudge that continues into this day. In fact, 15 years after that initial snub, Jason David Frank actually challenged Jean-Claude Van Damme to a fight, MMA, or even a kickboxing match. He was quoted as saying, "Anytime, any place, anywhere. And if Van Damme's too scared to come into the octagon, I'll even take him in on a kickboxing match." You gotta remember, this was in 2010, so the fight actually happening wasn't really that far-fetched. This wasn't just a random challenge. This was around the same time Van Damme was shooting a reality show, behind closed doors, and the premise was really focused on leading up into a climax with Van Damme training for a K1 Muay Thai match against former Olympic featherweight boxing champion and Olympic gold medalist Samlok Singh. Although that fight never actually took place and could have likely been a marketing gimmick to get some press for Van Damme's reality show, Jason David Frank seen it as a perfect time to pounce on the opportunity to get himself some press and threw down the gauntlet. The timing for him couldn't be more perfect either. Prior to this gauntlet being thrown down in 2010, on August 21st, 2009, Frank officially announced his signing with Sucker Punch Entertainment. He said there are reasons behind why he wants to fight, that it's a personal thing. It's not about the money or anything else, but rather a promise he made to his brother, who sadly passed away. So Jason David Frank actually did make good on that promise, and in 2010 he actually fought 5 times. He had 4 amateur fights, all wins in the first round, and also a pro fight later in the year, which he also had a win in the first round. Now, since we covered some of Jason David Frank's fighting history, it's only fair to delve into Van Damme's as well. Prior to ever coming to Hollywood, Van Damme actually had a pretty impressive record.
Well, Lord Zed, that's kind of a matter of opinion on who started what with whom in terms of Van Damme and Seagal. We actually went over that in the Seagal series. I'll be getting that back online. That will be all back online for Christmas, as well as another special Christmas Seagal Jumbo podcast. a lot coming up on MindShock here. So, what's funny is a lot of people think, because Seagal was starting crap saying Van Damme was not a real fighter and didn't have a real record. Because some Dumbo journalist didn't know that Jean-Claude Van Damme's real name was Jean-Claude Van Varenberg. So he searched all the kickboxing and karate records for Jean-Claude Van Damme, who never fought. Jean-Claude Van Varenberg was the one that was fighting. And had a really impressive record. We went over all these guys on the Seagal series, but another thing that people don't know about Jason David Frank, I think I might have mentioned this on an episode, maybe when we were discussing Van Damme. But Jason David Frank actually founded a clothing line Oh, wow. I didn't know he had that tattoo. That's interesting. Okay, hold on. Let me put the tattoo on the screen. And he might have... Viking Samurai might have just shown it in his video. But I didn't notice that. Oh, this is really laggy today. Alright. Okay. Almost there. Almost there. Okay. So Jason David Frank actually founded a clothing company with a very interesting name and branding. So here's his tattoo. Jesus didn't tap. And this is also his clothing line. So that's his clothing line. Jesus didn't tap. Very, very interesting. I don't know what to make of that. Lord Zed says, but Bruce Seagal would start anything with anybody, he's a saint. You mean wouldn't? Lord Zed says he might have got sucked to the dark side for sure. He was a tortured soul because of Disney or whoever owns him. Jesus didn't tap. Wesley saying, you mean tap out? Well, yeah, in MMA, you don't tap means you're either going to go to sleep or get your arm broken or whatever. So his clothing line was Jesus didn't tap. Justin Johnson brings up a good point. Jesus had his hands nailed hard to tap. Well, you can verbally submit. Technically, you could verbally tap or give up verbally. And I believe they would also accept your foot tapping. Because were his feet nailed to the cross or not? I don't believe his feet were nailed. Actually, some depictions do say that his feet were nailed as well. Oh, that's interesting. Actually, quite a few. Huh. Okay, so his feet were nailed as well, so he couldn't tap with his hands or feet. Now, was he gagged? So most of the depictions do not show a gag, so he could have verbally tapped. He could have verbally tapped. Truth Trollette asks, does one need to say tap or will Uncle do? I believe anything that would be interpreted as submission would count as a tap. Alright, let's continue this video here.
Now granted, mixed martial arts was not really a thing back then, but Van Damme did sport the following record. For semi-contact matches, his record was 41-4. But as far as kickboxing goes, 18-1, 18 of those wins by knockout, which he pretty much parlayed into his movie career. One of the things that makes Van Damme movie fights so interesting is that he really brought that powerfulness, that explosiveness, that knockout power to the films. It wasn't like those previous martial arts films where you've seen the guys getting hit 100 times. Van Damme's fights would usually not last nearly as long, and he'd take down many foes with just a couple of kicks or punches to knock them out. He really ushered in a whole new era of action films by putting his own personal spin, no pun intended, on those fights. Now going back to that challenge in 2010, Frank never heard from Van Damme or his representatives, and perhaps they weren't even aware of the challenge, or probably not even interested if they were. The silence on JCVD's end continued for nearly a decade, that is, until 2017. 7 years after the Green Power Rangers challenge and over 20 since Van Damme apparently snubbed him, the two finally had a run-in at a Comic-Con event in Mexico. And this comes down to a he said, she said type story. The promoter of the Comic-Con contacted JCVD.
Oh, this went down in Mexico? That makes it even shadier. So, this went down in Mexico? They have cons in Mexico? That's interesting.
Jason David Frank and asked if JCVD could borrow his green room and share it, which Jason obliged, not thinking it was a big deal. Apparently, there was a miscommunication, and Jason David Frank gave up the room in its entirety, as he was blocked from entering it by Van Damme's bodyguards. Rather than get in a tussle over the room, Frank said he found the event promoter and just got another green room so he could rest and catch a bite to eat. So what happened next exactly? Well, it depends who you ask. According to Jason David Frank, everything was cool until he was contacted by a member of Jean-Claude Van Damme's entourage, who said that their star wanted to get a photo with him. Frank obliged, but when he walked into the green room, he saw that multiple people in Jean-Claude's entourage were standing around while someone filmed his entrance with a heavy-duty camera. There was no photo op. Frank claims that it was just a setup. He's quoted as saying, all of his crew comes out and everybody has their cameras out and he has his professional camera. I'm not sure if he's shooting a reality show or what, but all the cameras are on and he comes out of the room and straight up to me and he goes, hey, you like writing articles about people? You want to beat my ass? You gonna apologize for that? And I said, nope. And he goes, you think you can still beat my ass? And I said, yes. So as exchange heated up, Van Damme's entourage surrounded the two men, either expecting to watch a schoolyard brawl or get in on the fight when things got rough. Neither man charged each other initially, and it was only after they both removed their jewelry that a physical altercation took place. According to Jason Frank, Van Damme said, okay, let's do it right now. Jason David Frank thought it was a joke, but the security was filming it, and he apparently thought Van Damme was trying to punk him, either make him look bad or throw a punch first, which would give Van Damme a reason to defend himself. So apparently, according to Jason David Frank, he did put Jean-Claude Van Damme against the wall, put him in a headlock, and Van Damme wanted none of it. Now, that footage has actually never surfaced, so it's hard to say if that actually happened. By now, you think it would have surfaced.
So, this is kind of weird. So, Jason David Frank is saying that Van Damme set him up to get some kind of brawl on camera for his reality TV show. Now, you know what's kind of weird, though? I mean, Van Damme's not that young here. Let's get their exact ages here, because... So, is this around 2015? Let's see, is 2015 or 2018? 2017. So this was 2017. Now, even though the footage never surfaced, this photo is from a different angle. Like, the photo on the screen right now is from a different angle than the other video from behind. So there's definitely video footage of something that happened. And so Frank is saying that Van Damme put his belongings down, and then Frank removed his watch and necklace in preparation to fight. Frank is saying he clinched him up, pushed him back, put him against the wall. He said Van Damme froze up as he rose his knee and said, do you want to do this? Van Damme didn't do anything, so he let him go. Quote, I backed away, and he starts saying, well, be careful what you say. You never know what I'm going to do. That's when it escalated and his security guy came in and broke it up. Frank recounted that once security got involved and separated them, Van Damme was all too happy to pipe up again. I mean, I don't know. I mean, this does not sound like Van Damme. Okay, so let's get their ages first and then decipher the situation. So this is 2017. This is November 2017. So Van Damme would have just turned 57. So he would have just turned 57. And I mean that's getting to the point where you're pushing 60. So Van Damme's 57. And this would have been just prior to Jason David Frank's birthday. Oh, no, not his birthday. This would have been after his birthday. He was born September 4th. So he would have already turned... So he would have been 40... So he would have, yeah, he would have just turned 44, Van Damme turning 57. I mean, so a 57-year-old Van Damme is gonna mess with a 44-year-old professional MMA fighter. A 57-year-old Van Damme is going to start something with a 44-year-old professional MMA fighter. I don't know. This is weird. This is kind of weird. Who believes this? I mean, I could understand possibly trying to do a fake altercation, but if that was the case, how did security even allow them to clinch up in the first place if they were already there? Now, keep in mind, no footage of this exists, even though there are other angles. So, obviously, more footage does exist, but that doesn't mean there was a fight on it. So the security's all around them. Are we to believe that even if a 57-year-old Van Damme wanted to get some crazy footage, would he allow... Because how did he know Jason David Frank wouldn't just knock him out with one hit, or at least try to? Because that's not what happened. So this story doesn't quite add up from Jason David Frank. I don't know. Let's do a poll here. I mean, I really don't know, because if he would, I mean, why would Van Damme allow the bodyguards would not have allowed a clinch situation. So even if he was fishing for footage, like the footage that they have that has been released, that seems like maybe that's all he wanted for the documentary. But Jason's saying that they actually clinched up and he pushed Van Damme against the wall and security did not intervene at that point. That doesn't, that's kind of weird. So unless Van Damme told his security not to intervene, I don't know. It's kind of weird. So far, 75% say yes, 57-year-old Van Damme would try something with 44-year-old Jason David Frank. 25% too triggered to answer, 0% say no so far. Lord Zed says, at the end of the day, both guys got in each other's face and no one looked like a coward. That is true. But we don't know what's going on here. We gotta decipher the situation in typical MindShock fashion on Thanksgiving 2024. What could be more important of a question to answer on Thanksgiving as what exactly went down between JEAN-CLAUDE Van Damme and Jason David Frank in 2017 in Mexico? This is an incredible question. It seems like all resources should be devoted to this. Flat Bob says, can't back down. Did you ever hear that song in the movie Van Damme did, Never Surrender? Are you talking about Kickboxer? The Kickboxer closing credits? I could play the song. You guys want to hear that song? Let me bring it up. That's a good song. Really catchy. The one and only Stan Bush, who did a lot of those Van Damme movies. And he also did the track for the new film, The Last Kumite. I still haven't seen it. I gotta watch that. That definitely seems like a Thanksgiving type of movie. Or a Christmas movie. Back when movies had awesome soundtracks. Big thanks to Flat Bob for that recommendation. So, let's get back to this dissection of this situation. This is the most pressing issue on Thanksgiving. What actually went down in 2017 down in Mexico between Jason David Frank and Jean-Claude Van Damme? 83% in the poll say Van Damme would try something. 17% too triggered to answer. Nobody thinks that Van Damme wouldn't try something with Frank. Interesting.
Van Damme claims it never has. The footage never surfaced. So for a while, Frank was the only person to actually talk about the scuffle, while Van Damme remained silent. Van Damme actually did finally break his silence on the issue while speaking to Metro later that year in December of 2017, where he claimed that Frank was lying about the whole thing. It never happened. He's saying all this bullshit doesn't exist. Van Damme claims he just wanted to say hello to him in Mexico, and that's about the extent of it. So the two men did meet. There was a face-to-face, some words were exchanged. Whether anything further took place, it's whether you believe this whole grudge, and maybe there's some truth to it, maybe it's not, maybe it's something that's been festering in Jason David Frank's head for the last 25 years, and, you know, up until that point, he just thinks Van Damme has it out for him. So with that mindset, maybe Van Damme just wanted to meet and greet him, but Jason David Frank, because of his mindset and what his belief is, that he thought it was just a setup. It's really hard to say. Again, it's a he said type thing. I'm not really saying one of them's right, one of them's wrong. It could have just been a misunderstanding that festered for 20 years and continues to this day. But one of the things that I find interesting, let's break down the fight. So these are both accomplished martial artists. Who do you think would win in a real fight? Now, Jason David Frank is the bigger man. If you just go by their height, Van Damme's around 5'9", Jason David Frank's around 5'11". In their prime, the fight would be pretty amazing. I'd say if it were an MMA or a kickboxing match, realistically, it should be a welterweight fight, 170. With that said, Van Damme and Bloodsport in his prime, probably the mid-180s. He's still in really good shape. He's not as big. I'd say he's probably 170, 170s now. Jason David Frank, quite the opposite. If you look at his build in the early Power Rangers show, 5'11", thin, athletic, probably weighed 170 maybe. Not nearly as muscular as Van Damme. Pretty athletic though. But if you look at his MMA career, he actually fought light heavyweight. Definitely a little out of shape. A lot of the amateur fighters are. He actually did take an amateur fight at heavyweight as well. And against this guy who was 6'5", he got a nice win over him. But realistically, if the fight were to take place, anything can go down on the street. I mean, there could be eye gouges or big groin shots. But if you're talking about like an MMA or even a kickboxing match, Jason David Frank definitely has the age advantage. He still has more youth on the side, though both men are getting up there. Van Damme's 59 right now. Jason David Frank is in his mid-40s. They were both in his prime. It's really hard to say who would win. Depends on the rules. Because if they were both in the prime, Jason David Frank didn't really have the grappling background. He really started training wrestling, and he's got I believe, a blue belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu now, but he didn't really start training that until 2006. So that scuffle in 2017, if it went to the ground, he'd probably have the advantage. If it was a straight-up kickboxing match, it could go either way. Obviously, you're talking about one man with the size advantage, but if they both cut weight, let's say they kept it professional, made a real fight out of it, fought at 170, really hard to say who would win. Who do you guys think would win? Let me know in the comments section. If you think this beef will continue, if they'll make nice, maybe they'll do a movie together someday, who knows. But who do you think would win in their prime or even in a fight right now?
So, yeah, we need to do another poll here, but basically, so this video was made before his death, but, so was this really a misunderstanding that festered for over 20 years? Yeah, let's do one more poll here. So, yeah, I think, yeah, Jason David Frank is bigger, but Van Damme is way more athletic. And, but Jason David Frank does have the more recent, at the time of this altercation, I guess we should make the poll at the time of the altercation, 2017. Jason David Frank would have had the most recent full contact combat experience over 57-year-old Van Damme, who wouldn't have fought, he wouldn't have fought, he was in his, teens and early 20s when he was fighting, so quite a few decades since Van Damme went full contact. So what do we have here? So 50% too triggered to answer. That's the, wait, is that the first time that won a poll? That's crazy. 17% are favoring Van Damme, 33% favoring Jason David Frank. Justin Johnson says, I think it can go either way. See, here's the thing. Prime versus prime. I'm going Van Damme based on athleticism alone. Even though Jason David Frank is bigger. But in 2017, I don't know if a 57-year-old... We're not talking Seagal here. We're not talking about a once in history martial arts master here. I'm a big Van Damme fan, but he's no Steven Seagal. Steven Seagal today might still be able to take all these 40-year-old youngins. I've put up clips before of him just easily ragdolling UFC champions. I don't think Van Damme can do that. I don't think he could. So a 57-year-old Van Damme against a 44-year-old Frank, I'm gonna have to heavily favor Jason David Frank. Heavily. Lord Zed agrees. Frank comes in the betting favorite. Yeah, not that Van Damme can't win. He's still pretty sneaky. He could be pretty sneaky with all his experience. But just a head-to-head clash like that in that room, I'd have to heavily lean Jason David Frank. And in a cage, probably even heavier. Even heavier with mixed martial arts rules. Even pure kickboxing rules. Jason David Frank, he has the size, the weight, at this point in their careers, the speed, and the most recent full contact fight experience. I don't see... Van Damme has basically no edge anywhere. I mean, I don't see any edge a 57-year-old Van Damme has over a 44-year-old Frank. So here we close the poll. Oh, it's actually a tie. 43% too triggered to answer, 43% say no. Van Damme cannot win. I mean, yeah, no, well, if you had a time machine, you went Prime versus Prime, I think Van Damme would be the heavy favorite, but I'm not 100% sure it would be a complete blowout. I mean, those clips of the Green Ranger, I mean, that was kind of impressive. I don't remember him looking that impressive. That was crisp stuff. I mean, I'm not even 100% sure Van Damme would have the speed on him, but Prime versus Prime, Van Damme would probably, would have the power, the technique, just more explosive with the power. But at the time of that showdown in Mexico in 2017, I mean, I just don't. Again, I'm a big Van Damme fan, but I don't see how he wins. I just don't see it. I think Seagal would probably beat both of them at the same time in 2017 if he was in that room, because he doesn't even look like he lost that much speed, even though he's crazy fat. But anyway, are we ready to get back to the turkey? Are we ready to get back to turkey talk, turkey entertainment, and attack of the turkeys? Justin Johnson says, has Seagal's chin ever been tested? Or any of these actors, for that matter. Well, yeah, I mean, well, Jason David Frank has had legit MMA fights. Are you not aware? And Van Damme went full contact as well. He only has one loss. I'm not 100... Let me double check whether he lost by knockout or not. He did avenge the loss. The loss, from what I remember. I don't know if it says whether he lost by knockout, though. Because he had he's 18-1 in full contact kickboxing, and with 18 KOs. I don't know if his kickboxing loss was by knockout, though. I wonder if that's anywhere. Oh, wow. His loss was by DQ. Interesting. He lost to Etienne Aubry in his second kickboxing fight, March 7th, 1977. So all his wins are by knockout, but his loss is by DQ. So did he actually win with an illegal blow? Or something? Like, let me look this up. Let me see if there's a record of this. Oh, yeah. Yeah, he won by knocking out the guy with an illegal kick. So it's not even a real loss. Wow. That's crazy. I did not know that. Wow, you learn something every day here on MindShock. So Van Damme is technically undefeated. He's never been defeated. He was disqualified for utilizing an illegal kick. It doesn't say where he knocked the other guy out with the illegal kick. So it doesn't say what type of kick it was, but if it knocked the guy out, I mean, were like axe kicks illegal or some weird stuff like that? Yeah, it doesn't say what kind of kick. I wonder if there's a video. I doubt it. It's from the 70s. Man, we're learning something new on MindShock. I didn't even know this. So Van Damme's loss is from knocking his opponent out with an illegal kick. So it must have been, maybe it was one of his karate, so one of his karate matches that he lost in semi-contact, that would have been the one he avenged. He has a couple of losses, actually, in semi-contact karate. Well, that was actually his last fight. His last fight. May 7th, 1980, he avenged his loss to Johnny Wellham. But I mean, I guess none of these are knockouts, because I'm guessing most of these are decisions, and this is point fighting. Because I don't know if, I mean, are you allowed to knock people out in semi-contact? I mean, I don't know how that works. So yeah, in full contact kickboxing, Van Damme has never been knocked out. So there is footage of some of his random... You guys want to watch it? There's footage of some random fights, but I don't know if it has his loss on here, his DQ loss. Actually, this is deceptive. Yeah, this isn't real footage. Okay, never mind. Yeah, there's no... I mean, there's like one... I think it was the semi-contact match. Not that interesting. Flat Bob says, sorry I was driving, I say Van Damme just cuz. Okay, so as far as Seagal's chin ever being tested, Justin, do you really think anybody had the skills to get a punch anywhere near Seagal's head? Or kick? I mean, no, but we really don't know. It can't be tested because no one's good enough to test it. So, I mean, I don't know if it's relevant. Justin says, you can kick them, just not... Oh, well, Van Damme's DQ was in kickboxing, not MMA. And in kickboxing, you can't attack a downed opponent. So they would get... they're either doing a standing count... I don't know the rules of the tournament that they were... Like, that format that he fought in. There's all these different kickboxing leagues. But it's kind of like boxing. You can't just punch someone when they're knocked down. They're either doing some kind of standing count... or some kind of point system or something, but you can't pummel a guy when they're down. That's only in MMA. And different MMA organizations have different rules. So, for example, in 1FC, I think even today, you can still kick and stomp on your opponent's head.